This novel really started probably about 5 years ago when I was busy researching my first novel, Burial Rites. I had had enough basically translating Icelandic sources. About 95% of the research material I needed for that first book was in Icelandic. And while I had a mediocre fluency in that language, it took me a lot of time and energy, and at one stage I just got a bit sick of it. So I gave myself the afternoon to translate, to go and read some British newspapers instead. My thinking was that perhaps I would find some account of the events I was researching in the British newspaper. And I didn't find anything, but what I did stumble across, quite by accident, was this brief article from 1826 which described the trial of a woman called Anne, or Nance, Roach, who lived in the southwest of Ireland. The charges which had been brought against her were quite serious. I won't say what they were so as not to spoil the book or the plot, but it wasn't so much the charges or the crime of which she was accused which interested me. Rather, it was her defence. She said that she couldn't be held accountable for what had happened, that she wasn't guilty because all she had been trying to do was to cure a fairy-struck child. Those were her words. She was trying to banish a changeling. Now, I had encountered the changeling fairy story or the changeling myth before. I knew it was when the fairies came amongst humans and stole one of their own, but so as not to arouse suspicion, left a fairy there amongst in the family. But I'd never, ever heard of accounts where this particular story had intersected with reality in such a brutal and surprising way. And so I copied out the article, and years later, once I had finished my first book, I returned to it. I had so many questions about who this woman was and why she had called herself a fairy doctress as she had. I wanted to know whether this fairly outlandish claim was something that she genuinely believed or whether she was rather using it as an excuse to avoid punishment. And from there, really, the novel evolved.